Hi, this is Dr. Kimberley Linert, author of Visualizing Happiness in Every Area of Your Life and host of this podcast, Incredible Life Creator. And today I have with me Leonard Henderson. Hey, Leonard.
How you doing today?
Great. It is great to have you on, and I am excited to talk about what we're going to talk about. But just so that people know who you are, I'm going to read your short bio. So Leonard Henderson was born and raised in Chicago. He later moved to Wisconsin and then Atlanta. He is a proud single father of two amazing kids, Nikko and Laylahni. Leonard has done martial arts his entire life, beginning at age 4. As an adult, he owned and ran martial arts academies. During that time, he was fortunate enough to earn multiple state, national, and world titles. From there, he pivoted to the financial service industry, where he has been serving people for almost 6 years. So, first of all, we don't meet that many, I'm guessing, black belts uh,
Yes, yes, yes.
around. So congratulations on that.
Thank you, thank
But
you.
why don't you just start from the beginning and tell us about you?
No, absolutely. Thank you. First of all, foremost, thank you very much, Kim, for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to be on your podcast here and just share a little of my story and have this conversation with you. Well, my story is not very deep by any means enthralled, but as you said, the bio kind of catches. I was born and raised in Chicago. I started martial arts because I was kicking my mom's furniture. There's lots of reasons people put their kids in martial arts. As you know, it's kind of become more of a behavioral additive to helping different things that, society's kind of seen how that can be of benefit to children now. That was not my case at all. I literally just broke my mom's furniture and she was like, "You're going to kick something else besides this." And this was while I was in the city of Chicago. She took me and I just fell in love with it. I was already doing it anyway and fell in love with it. And as we continue to kind of transition through, the different parts of Chicago, different suburbs and things along those lines, I continued to go to different spaces and it just became a part of my life. And it became a really accidentally, be honest, no, unbeknownst to us, it became a massive part of my identity and my family's identity. Just spending weekends after weekends in competitions, meeting fantastic people around the country, around this world. Just, many lifelong friends that I have right now are friends that I've made from like age 5. And so it's just really, it's unique to have the blessing to say I've got friends from when I was 5 and now I'm 42 years old, but it's because we kicked and punched each other, right? So kind of a unique thing, but yeah, went through that, believed that was going to be my entire life. I went through saying I'm going to be a Ninja Turtle to a Power Ranger to I'm actually just going to be on TV and be a superstar to eventually saying, yeah, I want to help and train other people and teach, and did that for a while and found a pretty good home in doing that. Did that in a few different spaces until had my children, got married, and was like, you know what, and then that changed a bit, and it was no longer sufficient. Not only financially, but just time wise. I needed to be around my children more. My kids are about 3 and 4 when that timeline came, and I had to find something else. And that pivot came into, he said, that the space of financial industry, and it was again completely accidental. Single dad, needing to make sure I take care of my kids at the same level financially that I was able to do before. Needed to have the same latitude, if you will, of time, meaning I still couldn't be gone 12 hours a day and still need to be present. And I got on good old Craigslist and looked up what could I do and make money. And it said everything said sales, 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 sales. And I said, I guess I'm gonna sell, 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 sell. Didn't know that's what I wanted to do, but everything that somewhat aligned with how I thought I'd want to do it always said financial services afterwards. Get licensed financial service. So I 100% got licensed, not knowing what I was going to do with the license. I didn't know where I was going to go to work or whom I was going to work with, but I was like, I know I need this tool, so at least I got it. Got that tool and never looked back. Worked for a few different companies with a few different spaces, and um, just fell in love with the opportunity of helping to educate people on financial literacy. Just being able to understand that my passion wasn't and isn't necessarily the business of what I do, but it's clear God has put me on earth as one of my purposes is to help people. in whatever way I can. And I used to do that as an instructor, whether they were kids all the way up to adults. And I do the same thing now, speaking to families about ways to just put themselves in better positions for right now and for future generations and legacy. So it's been a really great blessing to do that. I still train, not as much as I should because I'm getting older and I can feel it, but still train. My kids have grown up around martial arts, so they don't have a choice. They still kind of train and go through that. But I feel very blessed to know that they're getting an education of how to be a well-rounded person based off of helping others. What they've constantly seen is me be able to say, I'm going to provide for us the best I can, but the best way I can do that is by putting other people in position to be in a good space too. And that's my hope that they kind of take away as they see me kind of navigate through all of life's awesome turns on their throws map, right? But yeah, that's me in a nutshell, in a small nutshell.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Um,
So, growing up the way you did in martial arts, how do you think that shaped you? How do you think that made you different as compared to if you grew up without it?
I think it's huge to be honest with you. I think that the principles that martial arts are based on foundationally, on a personal level, not even just you know, discipline is obviously first and foremost. Martial arts always tends to denote the military, right? Between the call and command of sir, yes, sir, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, ma'am, all of the seven magic words, right? The please, thank yous, your welcomes, that all goes into effect. So discipline is always there and the structure is there. But I think it's really been more the ability to know that I can see past what's happening and put my eyes to the future and know as long as I believe I can get to it, I'm willing to do the work to get to it, I'll get there. That positive reinforcement environment that I grew up in has almost made me at many times delusional. And what others would say, but you need a bit of a delusion to get to some of those goals and dreams at times, right? So that alone is priceless, not to mention just the ability to create a self-confidence, to know that what you're personally doing is why you're getting to the next step, and not to worry about left or right, who's doing the same thing, but how you did it, the way you went through it to get to your goal, that's what matters most. And that's something that I believe has translated my whole life in every aspect, from business to personal relationships to everything, is just knowing that um it if I see it, I can have it, right? Not I want it somehow, but if I see it, I can have it. And then I have to know that I have to do the work to have that. And then as long as I am doing the work and it's one small victory at a time, it's a closer step to those wins. And that's something that is invaluable to learn at 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, when everything is instant gratification. Because at 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, I want my ice cream now. I want my cake right now. I want the new game right now. Why? Because he got it right now. Why can't I have it right now? Those weren't my dynamics. We were very early on and fantastic. This is what you like. There's the goal. Here's what we need to do to accomplish the goal. So I have that now. I'm able to instill that now in my kids. It's like, okay, great. This is how we'll get to it. So it's been invaluable. It's been invaluable. I would absolutely encourage everyone at some point, no matter what age, to just explore the environment of a positive martial arts facility and just hear the language of, and when I say positive martial arts facility, they're all, I'm not talking go be a UFC fighter, right? I'm sure the adults listen. I'm not saying trade out your gym pass at Lifetime and go get gloves and roll around or anything like that. But even if you have no children or you're not, just go sit and listen to how instructors communicate, not only with the students, but with the parents that are watching, and watch this beautiful bridge that helps reinforce what parents are ultimately trying to instill anyway in their kids. But the instructors are helping to bridge that gap, because a lot of kids can be tone deaf to what mom and dad say, right? But they're just re-implementing it and saying, no, do it here. And just watch that symbiotic, relationship. And it really tells you, man, this is a fantastic space to be bred in, to just grow up in. So I highly encourage folks to do that.
Yeah. And then, you won many championships and, I had a friend that was, a c I call it I guess you call it a cage fighter, that you go in and they close
Yes.
the door and you're not gonna go out before you got hit in the face many times, and
Right,
there's
right,
a
right.
certain way he had to think about that in order
Yeah.
to go in and get that abuse. So when you when when you go into a fight,
Mhm,
when you go into, I guess, a competition,
mhm.
what is your mindset? What are you thinking?
So there's so many different levels of competition. One of my best friends is a former UFC world champion. Like it started in traditional martial arts and grew to that. I would first say that the idea of competition, everyone approaches it a bit differently. Um, For me, it was just another part of the process of doing martial arts. So it wasn't ever anything like, I'm gonna be a champion someday. Like that wasn't my parents' drive. They didn't have Olympic aspirations or any of that. It was just another fun additive, if you will, to what I was already doing. And I was fortunate enough for my sake and probably more so for my parents' sake to not stink, to not get beaten up because I'm sure they probably wouldn't have. I would imagine it'd be hard to watch your child not do well in a physical combative type of thing. So, um, for me, competition was always rooted in fun. I always attached the work of it to being prepared. The going to it as a child, I traveled so much. I've seen so much of this country, regularly, parts of this world because I got to do martial arts, and they were like mini vacations. So, beyond the competition for me, it created a family dynamic that I was very fortunate to have that many people don't have. And it's not from a haughty place or a place of we were affluent and could do it because that wasn't the case by any means. But my parents saw a passion and they supported it. They saw that okay, you're pretty good. They never pushed me to compete. So my mind, when it goes into competition, always stems back to childhood, which was I did it because I liked it. The minute I didn't like it, I wasn't going to do it. Now, when you start talking about getting hit and the actual mental, aspect of that, it's like anything you do that you like. The abuse part for you isn't abuse the way other people see it. People love the gym. They love being sore. They love any runner that still runs 5, 10 miles. They're still sore at some stage because your body is your body. But it's not the same for us looking at them going, man, that must be rough. They actually are welcoming it. They're looking forward to what they call that burn. They're looking forward to that, right? So for those of us that compete and you're looking, how do you get kicked? How do you get punched? How do you get choked? We enjoy it. And it sounds a little like, are you all there? But you look forward to it because it's a part of the fun. And then once you realize that the result can be just amazing, the feeling of victory in anything, it's a feeling like nothing else. When you know you've accomplished what you set out to do, that feeling is never replaced. So while you have that in your mind, it's almost weird. You're never competing against someone else. Like that was always my thought. I've never with all due respect to every competitor and anybody I've ever, had to face in any level of competition, even now within business levels, I don't compete with people. That's not arrogance, it's truth. I show up the best version of me, and that allows for me to get what I was supposed to get. Odds are, if I've done more and I've put more in, I probably will come out ahead of my quote unquote competitor because I have that belief that that's there. And when you have such a strong belief that your end result is first, second place isn't an option. So when I competed, it was never I'm just showing up to compete. We had a stand and say to compete is win. To compete is to win because that's the first step, which is true. For those competitors like your friend that entered a cage and only could enter out of, the competition is it to win. So like I've always trained, I don't train to fight. I don't train to win. I train to just be victorious. I don't
Mhm.
I don't I don't like getting hit in the face. So I'm not gonna let you do that today. Victory. I like being awake and not unconscious. So I'm not gonna let you do that today. Victory. Right? Like so that's always kind of been my mental, and everyone's a little different. Some people put chips on their shoulder and they're like, no, I'm gonna go and do that, and they go crazy beforehand. I've never understood that. I've never been upset sitting across from someone. It's weird. I'm the weirdo that can smile at you while I hit you because I'm truly just enjoying it that much. And I'm not enjoying hitting you as much as like, this is just a great time. Like we get to hit one another and train. And I mean, you might go to sleep a little bit, but I'll wake you up and then we can go have dinner afterwards. So like it's always been camaraderie for me within competition. I've never understood how to compete angry because it's competition. You haven't done anything to make me angry. You haven't done anything to, make, and that's in business as well. You know what my dad used to always say, what you eat doesn't get me fat. So I don't care what you're doing. I care what I'm doing. And
Mhm.
that's always been my mental to competition is, I'm going to do the best and the most that I can to be prepared in any arena that is. And but between the ability that I have that God's given me to be able to do that, I'm not gonna waste it. I'm gonna max it out. And because I know I'm maxing mine out, I hope you're maxing yours out because you're gonna need it. That's always been my thoughts. Right.
Mhm.
That's probably his most arrogant if you're touching there, because arrogance and confidence are very closely related. Yeah, they're very closely related. You asked me earlier what what martial arts did that taught me early to learn that arrogance and confidence are cousins and they're first cousins and they're about this far from one another, and you have
Mhm.
to know when to utilize it and how to utilize it so you don't step over the line is huge. You have to be supremely confident in yourself. That does not mean you need to be arrogant, because the moment you become arrogant, you tend to belittle everything and everyone else and anything they've done. You tend to just say, I'm so great that no others can be great. The fact is, in competition, I want to compete against the greatest because that means I'm the greatest if I've won.
Mhm.
I don't want those that seem less. I want to be the best. So if I'm gonna be the best, I got to compete against the best. When I lose, I want to tell the story. I lost against the best person in the world, right?
Mhm.
Like when you win, you're gonna tell them I beat the hardest person ever. You don't want to, it goes both ways. When you lose, that guy was amazing, like it backflips and disappeared, all this kind of stuff, right? So you carry that in your mind, and it keeps you humble, and it allows for you to train ferociously, knowing that the other person should be doing the same to get ready for you. And if they're not, it's their mistake. But it doesn't alter what you do. It just doesn't alter what you
Yeah. Well, thank you. That was awesome explanation.
do.
So, I know sometimes when we switch places, it feels really strange. So I know me being the doctor, I'm so used to being the doctor and the patient's in the chair. But there's times when it's my turn to go to the doctor and I have to sit in the patient chair and it feels so different. So when you were going from being the student, being the competitor to the teacher, how was that for you? What was that experience?
Um, well, I'm grateful for it because it prepared me for what I do now. It gave me foundation to understand um, how to communicate effectively to people, and understand that you know, communication is key to any relationship, because if you can't communicate what expectations you have in that dynamic, you don't have a roadmap to doing anything, right? So for me, it was a really natural transition because I wanted to be my instructors. I wanted to be, those were the people I emulated the most. So in those moments when I would pretend to teach, I was pretending to teach like the people that, taught me. I was very fortunate. I went through we had a training program, like most anything. Like I said, I had a really unique upbringing, and I tell you, God is just so good because, when they say He orders your steps, He truly does. And you don't, and sometimes you have to take a step back and look. I was in training programs to teach leadership and to teach and to lead groups and and to show folks how to go from point A to point Z before I even knew what that was. When as an adult, that's exactly what different companies put you through to put you in positions to do that. So God knew where I would be. I don't know. Even today, I know what I can be, but I'm going to be someplace way further because it's not done yet. I'm an unfinished work. But it was a great transition because I was fortunate enough to have a step by step on how to do it. Right. And again, we have a saying in martial arts where you swallow the big frog. You do the hardest thing first, right? So confidence is key, self-confidence is key. So starting small, just being put in front of your own group of peers and counting from 1 to 10. People don't understand how valuable that is to that 5-year-old who is now speaking in front of a group of people and an audience. And not only speaking in front of a group of people, but getting a response from a group of people. More importantly, getting a response from their peers who, by product of that person being in front, is showing them a level of respect because they're starting to recognize the reality of positional authority. Not that I'm in charge, but you're learning to respect the authority in your life at that time. If I'm in front and asking you to do something and you've agreed to do that, who cares who's the person doing it? The position of authority is to respond accordingly. Your parents are your position of authority when they're asking you to do whatever they're doing. Respond accordingly. Your teachers. So this was I guess the environment of training to become an instructor that we start, and many martial arts schools are still doing this now. Again, the powerful tools of it that you start with at 6 years old with these kids. And so it's crazy by that. This is why kids are going to Ivy League schools and they want to see martial arts on your student because you've been put in position to lead and help others and be of service and you're not shy. So I know that you can stand in front of a room of folks and, and give a dissertation and it be eloquently spoken and you'll be good because you've been doing it for 20 years. You just didn't necessarily know it would lead to this, right? So that for me was really huge. And again, they tricked me, they bribed me, they gave me belts and they gave me awards, and it was just fun for me. Like it was just another part of me getting another rank, another part of me getting to do something else. And no time that they ever tell me and sit you down, this is what it's going to help you to become someday. It was just, I get to lead today. Great. Right. Let me be the leader, please. And you find yourself volunteering. That's the key. That's the key for me in the martial arts realm is you find yourself volunteering to be a leader. And you understand that being a fantastic leader first requires you to be an excellent follower. People put a lot of emphasis, I think, incorrectly on the word being a follower. It's okay to teach your children to be a follower because it's quite contradictory to tell them to do something and follow your example when in fact you're saying the word follow, but you don't want them to be followers. They just need to follow the right group, become the best follower in the best spaces so that you can turn into the best leader in your spaces. And so that's been my whole life. I still talk to my instructors. In fact, this weekend, one of my first instructors, she's actually getting the rank of 9th degree black belt. She's becoming a grandmaster. She's dedicated her life to doing this. Her story's quite unique. She started training martial arts with her daughters because she felt threatened at some point when she was out just walking, and it became her life. And she's helped thousands upon thousands of people. And I'm so honored and proud for her because there's a true admiration and love because I watched her just grow. And she's a massive, massive, every part of my life I owe to her. And people are like, really? I'm like, every part from the woman I met and married and had my children with, none of that would have been possible without going through a martial arts program with her. And so it gets really deep when you actually take a moment and a deep breath and you observe and you show reverence and respect to what people do for you that they don't even plan to do for you. That's the crazy part. That's not the plan. I was a contracted student that just happened to turn into this little kid she's known her whole life now. So uh, but yeah, so it's always great. It's always great.
Yeah. So at some point, you went from instructor to business owner, and that's a whole nother ball of wax. I mean,
Yeah.
so how did that happen?
I was a little obstinate. um, I was I grew up around, again, I know around small business owners. all of these folks that own martial arts schools are small business owners. Um, I was teaching for money in high school. That was my job. I always have been a bit privileged in my life because I haven't had this standard, get a job and kind of learn that. I was at the same martial arts studio every day anyway, and then I just started to get paid for it. So I never really had to like be a bag boy or anything crazy at any grocery store because I was just doing what I like and getting paid. So I was very blessed and privileged to be able to do that. But I watched all of these small, business owners and not realizing that's what they were at the time. They were just my, instructors and mentors and folks that I looked up to. And as I'm going through school, my mother's a nurse practitioner, come from family of educators and principals and all that good stuff. The whole plan was, Leonard, you're going to be pre-med. So, okay, I guess that was kind of like, I guess. And I've always had an affinity for medicine and different things and all those lines. But I was like, all right, I guess that's what I'll do. Um, and I had a really great mentor and friend out in San Diego. I actually used to compete against one of his best students, and we would compete hard. I would get the best of him, he would get the best of me, but we became very good friends. And eventually, his instructor, again, the power of just being in the right environment, recognized our friendship and just started inviting myself and my family to San Diego every summer for a while for us to hang out and train. And I spent about 3 years of my high school life just going to California and hanging out in San Diego and training because I just had this great relationship. And during that time, he would talk to me about business. He's a very successful school owner, had multiple locations in Southern California or in San Diego rather, than Encinitas and Martin Commerce, so very nice areas. And his nickname for me was Smiley. 'Cause as I said, I'm a weirdo. I smile while I compete. And so he would call me Smiley. And he said, what are you planning to do? And I was like, I don't, what I'm supposed to do. I says I got to go to school and take my test and apply and go to school, right? And he was like, is that what you want to do? And I was like, I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. And so we had a really good talk. And at that time, the gentleman was making about 7+ figures running martial arts schools. So he was like, there's other ways. You do this now. You're a great instructor. He was like, you should give some thought to when you finish school, maybe just coming out here and working with me, and I can show you how to do what we do here. So that was my first little drip into thinking I wanted to do that. I finished school, started going to school because my mom was like, no, you're gonna go to school. And for those of you listening, this is not my suggestion or my encouragement. I loosely say I started going to school. I started showing up for exams. I did not go to class ever. Like ever. I showed up for exams, passed my exams because I knew it needed to be done, but I was never present. So I did not do well in the sense of you have to be in class to do well. Passed all my exams, like your test scores are fantastic, but you need to be here. You have no assignments turned in. And you have, like, I'm like, I don't really have time for that. I just show up and I must know that, look, I'm getting A's in the material. Why is that not enough? That was always my thought process because you need to do the assignments. That's why. So I was like, but if I'm doing the assignments, and I'm not doing well, you still wouldn't pass me through. But if I'm showing up and I'm passing the exams, why do I need to do assignments? I'm a very pragmatic person in that way. So I made a deal with my mom. And I said, hey, look, this gentleman said that if, I can do this business, I can make really great money. She had a high level of respect for him as well. And I made a deal with her. I was 19 or 18 turning 19. I said, hey, look, if I can go, um, you know, 3 to 6 months, 3 to 6 months earning a decent income that could take care of myself, would you be opposed to me just not doing school and me putting my livelihood in this? I've essentially got the training plus as if I was going to school to do that already. So, if we can make that work, what do you say? And she took me up on my offer and I made about 20 something thousand dollars just teaching and doing private lessons and hustling and moving through. And she went, okay, you not have a great life, but I know you could afford to take care of yourself. But so that was in like a 2.5 month timeline, 2.5 to 3 month timeline. I said, give me another 3 months. And I was able to earn about 50,000 in a year. And I looked at my mom and I said, Mom, I want to do this forever. He said he's got the stuff to do it right. I'll help him. And that's where that happened. It was kind of a, goodbye to school and education in that way. Traditional education, I should say, because constantly learning and evolving, but goodbye to traditional education and welcome to business education. And that was the pivot point for me. And I fell in love with that process for many, many, many years, just helping schools develop and grow. And it changed for me running locations and teaching to consulting other locations at some point to ultimately pivoting. And that pivot came because, again, many different things to owning schools in California while still being here in Georgia and like just all kinds of craziness that was just like, this has been fantastic. And I joke with my mother all the time. Did you ever think she had a small statue that I kicked and broke that I used to talk to when I was about 3.5. It was my little imaginary friend. I was just sitting and talk with them. And as I mentioned, I broke her furniture. He didn't speak back to me one day. So I kicked him and I broke him. And that's how that whole journey started. And I literally just was joking when I said, "Did you ever think that me breaking that little statue would lead me to being us, to being here?" And just in everything we've done, and I've been just so Kim, I've just been so fortunate and blessed to be around people that I never would have known. I've been around politicians that I never would have had an opportunity to be, to presidents I never would have been before they were presidents. We had an annual event in Little Rock, Arkansas every year. I've met Bill Clinton like several times. I didn't know I was meeting Bill Clinton. I was just here meeting Bill Clinton. Like, but I've got photos of him breaking boards and standing next to me and eating it. I'm like, and I don't you don't know what you don't know. But when you step back and you look and you just go, man, God has really put something over my life that it's just amazing. That all started organically from fun. There was nothing pre-orchestrated by my family when you're going to do XYZ to get to XYZ. And I think a lot of times that's the best stories, I think, when you're going into transitions and just when the natural flow of what God has planned for you slides in. There's pain points, tremendous pain points, but you find yourself just excelling and you sometimes you just don't know why, but it's because it's supposed to be happening, right? So that's the pivot. That's how it transitioned into that, and then I fell in love with business. I literally fell in love with managing, growing, and running, and understanding the business principles, and understanding how to cultivate and develop staffing and how to work with folks and how to look at profit loss margins. And in my mind, I was like, man, I want to be a business guru. That's what I want to do now. So it's I've never looked back since. I've just pivoted industries, so to speak.
Got it. So, how did you know it was time to go from owning martial arts school to your next step in, you said sales, but ended up in financial services?
Um, so for me, it was the moment it felt like a job. It was the moment that I got ready to go into work. Essentially, I was in California. And I came back from Cali. I was staying there because the school I purchased at that time needed more staffing, whatever. So I had found myself there trying to make this thing work. And I was sleeping on the floor in that school, and I was away from my kids at that point in time. And it felt like a prison sentence. I'm like, man, what am I doing? That was the beginning stages where I was like, it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. I came home and I was like, okay, I need to still do something. And I started another small location that was about 3 minutes from my house. And it was like the heaviest thing every day in the world to go to it. Like the heaviest. I literally could have walked to it. And it was like, I don't want to go. And it was my thing. Like me showing up allows me to go. So I started having this deep sigh as I would get prepared to go. And I was like, I don't think it's meant for me anymore in that way. I love when I'm there. I love how I'm interacting with the students and what that is. I know that is why it's always going to be meant for me to help people. But I don't believe the business of this is meant for me. I don't want to take care of my family like this anymore. And that feeling, it was just overwhelming. It was very, very overwhelming to where it for a mild moment, it actually kind of, I won't say it put me in a depressive state, but I was kind of lost because this is what I geared my whole life to. So you have those reflective moments where it's like, I can't believe I didn't go to school. And now I didn't go to school. Now I'm not going to do this. What am I going to do? Now I'm, 30 something years old, kids. This is not the time to try to figure out what you can do with your life, man. Like you're all by yourself. Like, dude, figure this out. So there was a good like 2, 3 weeks where I got back from Cali and I just sat on my couch. And I went through a moment where I was very much like, I refuse to claim being depressed. I tell people all the time, do not claim being depressed. I'm not acknowledging what you may be going through, what you may be feeling, what you may be experiencing, but don't title yourself with it because it's only going to make it easier for it to stick. It's only going to make it easier for it to stick. So let's acknowledge it and let's figure out how to immediately start deviating away from from those emotions. So I refuse to say I was depressed, but I was definitely in a lot of deep thought and reflective thought of what was going to happen. And I distinctly remember laying on my couch, face down, um, I took a nap, popped my head up. My son was looking at me. I had like a little mini beard. I'm a gentleman that doesn't really like to have a lot of facial hair. And he's like, young, he says, "Your face hurt?" And he says, "Your face hurt?" Because I have more hair than normal. And I was like, no, he's like, you should shave it. It looks like it hurts. And, and I said, okay, Nico, I guess I'll shave it. And then he calls his sister, Laylahni, Dad's face hurts. Like I can vividly remember this. And I remember sitting up and going, get it together. And it wasn't anything big. It was my kids asking me if my face hurt and them just having a conversation and me going, dude, what are you doing? That's life right there. First get up, go shave your face, and then go figure something out, right? And that's how that Craigslist came about. Like I did Craigslist like it was my job. I took about 2, 3 days of just looking, and every time I saw that, it just spoke to me. It spoke to me. It spoke to me. I've gotten much better at it now than I was then and understanding. That was God saying, dude, this is it. I'm telling you right now, this is it. And that's how that transition happened when I felt that sense of urgency and I never thought about what I wasn't doing anymore. In no time did I ever think about what I'd be leaving, which is how I knew it was the right thing not to be doing it. And my kids just looking at me, they were so young at the time, like probably 4 or 5. Well, I guess much younger at a little older, but just like, does your face hurt? I'll never forget. It's like, wow, I was like, it's got hair on it. Does your face hurt? It's like, oh, Leilani, his face hurt. So, but that was how I knew. And I've not looked back. I've not looked back once. It's been fantastic. It's continuously evolving and continuing to grow. And it's again leading me into places to meet fantastic people like yourself that just, you never know. You never know where God's going to send you. But what I hope everybody starts to know that he's never going to send you any place you shouldn't be. You may not know that, but if you're there, it's because you're supposed to be 100%. So embrace it, submit to it, and you'll get everything you're supposed to get out of it while you're there. That's not always all good, but you're going to get the good out of it. You might get some bad, but the bad still can build your shield up. It can thicken that skin so you're ready for the next round through. So that was my transition period, and I was excited to learn a whole new skill set, learn the game of money, so to speak, right? The language of money. And it's been a really great journey, a really, really great journey.
Yeah. So now you're in financial services, and there's so many people doing financial services. There's different parts of it that you can
Mhm.
do, but you found a company that you love because of the values, faith, family, finance, fitness, and fun. So
Absolutely.
what you're doing now and what gives you joy about it?
Oh man, I can I tell you, the business is business, but to be in business and be in business with like-minded individuals that share your core principles is invaluable. You cannot put a price to it. And I absolutely love working with the team that I work with at the place that I work with at Global Financial Impact. We're a faith-based company, which is huge for me. I tell people all the time, you don't necessarily have to, you know, say what your faith is. People get lost in translation, right? Like they get lost in, well, what is that? Are you a Christian? Are you a this or that? A faith-based company means you have something you believe in that's bigger, that you know is propelling you to something. I don't care who and what you call it. I know what I call it, and I'm immovable on that. That's non-negotiable for me. But that doesn't mean I'm going to argue what you may call it so that you have to agree. I'm glad you have yours and where it moves it. And for me, that was key to just do things the moral and ethical correct way, but not because it's good for business, but because it's good for soul. It's good for righteousness. I always say if I can move righteously, I can sleep at night. If I do things with the intent to doing no harm, but to doing the best for the people that I'm around, I'm not as devastated if it doesn't go well. And hopefully those people I've worked with, not necessarily in business, but just in any dynamic, they understand that too. And we can still unpack it and process it and see how we can fix it because you know that the intention was correct. And that is how this company operates. Um, you know, my family is everything to me. I literally live and breathe for my children. That was a circumstance that I would have never written, in my story, but God had other plans for that, to get married and have my children and have that not work out and have her decide not to want to be married anymore. It happens, life is life. But to have the risk, I guess you could say, of not having my children was very hard for me. We went through about a 3-year divorce, 3+ year divorce. Not to get too intimate and deep on it, because I know I want to encourage, but I do think that this could be encouraging to some folks listening, and that, that was one of the roughest times of my entire life, to just not losing my marriage, but the thought of not having my children. And I never planned to have kids and be a weekend dad. Like that was never the thing. I tell her to date, and we have a evolving relationship, my kid's mother and I. But I tell her to date. I don't think I ever was in love with you. I think I was always in love with the fact that I was a father and you happen to be the mother of my children. That doesn't mean I hate you. That doesn't mean I don't have a love for you. But I can honestly tell you, thinking about you carrying my child made me feel more for you. And then seeing my children after being born allowed for me to not care for certain things that otherwise I would have cared about, because I see you in them.
Mhm.
So it was a lot of, and that's just I'm thankful to God that I can get there now and be honest and transparent to that. But, um, it was a 3-year process, because when she left them with me. She didn't take them with her. She didn't say, "We're leaving and I don't wanna be married and we'll figure this out," and kids, they were 2 and 3 at the time. So I've been kinda soloing this from 2 and 3 to about a year later, them visiting. We were separated for about a year, and, they were visiting, and she decided that's not what she wanted to do anymore, and she told me I couldn't see them. Because we were still married, it's a civil situation, there is legally nothing I could do. So essentially, I was basically told you can't have your kids back until the courts decide. So it was a very traumatic moment, I'm thankful for it now for a lot of reasons, in the sense of what it creates. I don't have many fears. I don't have I don't have many fears about anything in life. I don't carry many hurts. I don't have a lot of trepidation about things, because there is no pain that will ever surpass what it felt like thinking I was never going to have my children again, ever. And I pray no one has to ever feel that, to be able to develop that toughness. But until you feel something like that, you don't understand how you can just walk through anything. So to go from purchasing them clothes, being a little bit emotional, purchasing them clothes in the mall, to being told you can't have them anymore, and I'll let you know when. And then a month plus of no conversation, no seeing, no anything, when your day in, day out was good night kisses, good morning hugs, full dad. Oh my goodness, it felt like 5 years. It felt like 5 years. And in that time, I won't say my heart grew colder, because I still believe I have a warm heart, but it definitely allowed for me to condition myself to not be as affected by the things that don't need to affect you, because nothing affected me like nothing could ever affect me like that. And fast forward to today through it, it's one of those things that I look at the whole scenario and I'm just grateful to it because it's allowed me to kind of develop a mental toughness. A no is just a no in business. A yes is just a yes, right? It's allowed for me to have a drive, a purpose. It's allowed for me to work with a company and be blessed to find a company that puts family in their foundation. So when I travel for work, my children go and they're around other children that also are around folks that have the same thought process, right? They're learning about stewardship and financial literacy without it being money, 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 make all the money go crazy, right? But understanding the high level of importance that you have to understand that comes with financial literacy, right? And what I didn't know at 12 and 13, they're 13 and 14 now. What I didn't know at 13 and 14, they now know, which gives them light years of a head start to be in a better position. Um, so working with GFI has been fantastic. Working with my team, my partner Edgar and his wife and the team they've put together is fantastic. We have group me chats that are solely dedicated to what we're doing for fitness, what we're doing with our family. Hey, we're walking into church, or we're sharing scriptures or passages with one another. We're sharing fun ice cream dates with our kids because that is what this business is for us. Yes, we want to earn. Obviously, this is our livelihood. Yes, we want to help folks, but um, we say all the time, if I had the ability to get super wealthy and you could pick all the people you wanted around you to go on every island in the world that you'd want to go to, that's the goal, that's the dream, right? So to be in a space where you genuinely enjoy everybody's presence and you genuinely enjoy everyone's wins and you're supporting them because you know they're winning in the right way. They haven't done anything that can be considered, just unethical. You celebrate it differently. You celebrate someone who makes a stupendous amount of money in a month because you know that they've helped a tremendous amount of people the right way. So you don't look at what they've earned, you look at what they've done to get there and you celebrate it like crazy. So it's been fantastic. It's the best company I've ever been associated with. That's not to put any other, folks companies down by any means. I always give credit where credit is due. Everywhere is the best if you make the best of it. If that's not the case, there wouldn't be other options, right? So never been a big fan of putting someone else down to raise yourself up. But I'm a huge fan of giving praise where you're at and understanding that that's where you're at and you should give praise and you should be able to do that without belittling and putting something else down. So,
Yeah. And so, what are some of the um, um, services, some of the things that you offer people?
so we this is the other reason why I love this company. We have 12 different divisions that we help people in within GFI. We have, being a faith-based company, we help churches understand how to solidify their church for years and years and years through different financial vehicles. We help them understand how to take their members and put them in best positions in our faith division. We help athletes with understanding how to be principal protected and more tax advantaged in the money that they're earning. We have a specific medical field, a medical division, where we help nurses and physicians kind of learn how to have a conversation with other folks to tell them, hey, I know I'm helping you in this realm, but based upon some of the things we've discussed, I could probably help you there, but also within your own practices, right? How can we make you more tax advantaged and things along those lines? So we spend a good portion of our time just educating folks. And what I tell people often is that we deal a lot in advanced markets where we're helping business owners with executive bonus plans and kind of helping them to put retirement plans in place for themselves. As you know, as a small business owner, you don't get the gift of the 401k, as they say. So you have to create your own retirement. So we help folks learn how to do that and do it all correctly with the right team, the right taxes, and so forth and so on. But we also help the parents that have kids that maybe don't know anything about insurance, and you need to be protected in case something happens. So I have clients that I just helped a client with a $27 a month whole life policy for their child. It's a $50,000 policy. This child will have this coverage for entirety. There's nothing paid on it after the age of 18, and it's going to grow, accumulate some cash within it. It's just a whole life, simple little children's whole life policy. $27 a month. Um, the young lady is 14 that has it. She's 14 that has it, right? But she'll have life insurance for the duration of her life because of a decision her mom made to take, you know what, a little bit under $6 a week to put her in a better space. While I also have clients that I'm having conversations with that are trying to move 100 plus $50,000 at one time into things to have more of that. So I love what we do because we have what we call a 5-finger approach. We help people at every phase of their life. So while we're not solely just life insurance and final expense and things along those lines, we absolutely understand the need for that. But we absolutely understand that there are high net worth level individuals that need still a little bit of understanding of how to best protect what they've worked so hard to become a high net worth individual. And they don't need to necessarily feel like they have to pay thousands of dollars per hour to go sit with an advisor to do that. Many people don't understand the power a life insurance license, simply just the license gives you. Um, most states in most states you have to get just a little bit better than failing. You have to get a 60% to acquire this license, right? You're talking about in most states spending a little less than $500 tops to acquire that. So a barrier of entry into something that in one conversation, and that's really what I'll be very transparent in the beginning. That's really what turned me on is I had one 45-minute conversation when I first got licensed and I made about $1,800 direct to me. And I went, this was awesome. And then I did it again and it was like a $3,000. Like, I'm never like ever leaving this. I was like, is this illegal? Like this money does not seem fair for what I'm doing. And so that's what stuck me like glue initially in this space was just how I was able to provide for my family. And I could do it. And at that time it was pre-COVID. So I was meeting with clients in different destinations and in offices. But much like everything, we pivoted, we adjusted. Now I get to do this from my home office. I get to do this on this wonderful tool we call Zoom. I get to work virtually. So I can help people everywhere. And with this particular group, we're in 55 countries. I can literally help people around the world now be in a better space. And I can indirectly do that by the people that work with me. So while I might not speak, flawless, seamless, perfect Spanish, while I might not be able to be in Mexico, I have team members that are agents on my team that do, and they're able to help clients there. And the beautiful thing about our business is that everybody wins. My company, my personal agency is still compensated. That agency is compensated. That client is still helped. And again, it's that win-win-win approach. And I've never been a part of anything that really, in the almost going on 7 years, I've never been a part of anything that has held true to that from start to finish that's truly been authentic in that way. And we're only 18, soon to be 19 months in. And this company has already helped build about 18 millionaires. We have people in this company that are already at 4.5, $5 million of income 6 months into the year. So, and again, that number is staggering, not because of where it is, but that is a direct reflection of the help and the service they've given out and how they've helped people. So that pivot has been very easy for me. I am excited every day to come and work with the people I work with. I myself was recently feeling a little under the weather, and I was talking with my team and some of the mentors. And they prayed for me. Not to say that those teams or companies that aren't praying for folks are bad, but to be in a space to where I showed up because I'm a worker, I gotta work, and they're like, you all right? Got a little thing going on, but I'm here, I'm at home. There's really no reason for me not to show up. I can hop on Zoom and put a hoodie on and be in bed. I'm okay. And to have this meeting and to say, hey, we understand stomach sores. You mind if we say a prayer just of healing and to get well for you before we get done? I said, I absolutely don't mind. Like, why? Thank you. Thank you so much for it not just being about what I can help bring to the bottom line, but the bottom line being you're valuable. we care for you. So I love this company. I will sing its praises through and through. And anybody that is interested in working and what, please find out for yourself. That's what I tell folks. Find out for yourself. We might not fit everybody, but we don't have a problem talking to anybody. Right? That's the way that it works. So
Beautiful. Thank you so much. So
absolutely.
if people wanted to connect with you, how do they do that?
So let me tell you, I am a horrible social media guy. I am so bad at it. So I literally have to like cheat. But on Instagram, you can find me. My name is Leonard Henderson, and it's Leonard Henderson Life Insurance, or excuse me, Life Insurance Expert slash there. You can find that on Instagram, and you'd see it as Leonard underscore Kaizen underscore financial agency. And on there, you're gonna see pictures of my kids and financial information. I'm a boring dude, but there's a Calendly link on there that allows for you to, if you want to have a conversation about anything. And yes, I'm in the financial services space, but if you want to just talk and say, hey, I just want to say, I appreciate, I saw you on the podcast and thanks for that. Book a time. I'm open to having a conversation. I truly want my life to be one that helps others in whatever way that can be. Because I have an intentionality by the end of this year, start of next year, to start a nonprofit called Blessed to Bless. I truly believe our purpose is to be able to help others get from where they're at to their next. And so many people are, to use a number scale, so many people aren't even at zero, they're at a negative. So to be able to just talk to someone and say, hey, I know life feels like a -3 right now. Let's just see if we can get you teared off right at zero and start from there. That's
Mhm.
powerful. People don't understand the power sometimes of being so behind and are feeling so behind that zero seems like a win. you know, just being able to say, hey, I don't have a minus sign by me anymore. It's a win.
Mhm.
That's where I feel like I've been put here to do. And I'm going to continue to push forward to do that. I truly, truly believe that's everyone's calling, but it is definitely my ministry. I think that's my ministry to help folks and go that way. I'm on Facebook as well. I'm checking again because I'm bad with social media, but my name is Leonard Henderson III on Facebook. And same, I have a Calendly link and all that good stuff if you guys would like to reach out. And feel free to reach out. Like I said, just have a conversation, just to say, hey, I appreciate the time, or I'm wondering, how do I do something? There's no obligation. I want to be really expressly clear. I don't sell anything, Kim. I don't. I think that was one of the things that helped our conversation is I'm not a salesperson. Like, what we do is essential. And if you're in a space where it's something that you need, let's have a conversation about how it can work. And if it doesn't work, at least I know you're the better for being exposed to the information. And thank you for giving me the chance to do that. Right. But it's I'm telling you, I'm up. I was up to about 3 in the morning because I work on West Coast times too. So I was sitting there talking with a colleague, and he was like, "No, I'm good, man. It's only like 10 over here." I'm like, "Yeah, it's like 1 over here, man. Like what are you talking about?" He was like, "No, let's go ahead and just help this client out." Okay, let's help this client out. So it's truly become a passion. It's truly become a passion, and anyone that needs any level of conversation, please feel free to reach out. And the one thing I would share, if I can, about the financial services space, people tend to have a need for something and don't know what questions to ask, right? They don't know what questions to ask, so they just assume ask nothing, right? And then they find themselves in a space to where they're in need of whatever they chose not to ask questions about. I would absolutely encourage everybody, ask the questions. If they don't even have to ask me, if you've got somebody in your life that has a fair understanding of those things, ask the questions, because we're in a really unique time right now, a really unique time. Not being overly political by any means, but there's a lot of unique things that we're experiencing or are about to experience that people have never gone through. So understanding how to be protected is a fantastic tool. Understanding why you need the protection, even if you can't do it at that moment, is huge. And it's better than just sitting on, well, something's going to happen. So ask the questions. There's no such thing as a dumb, stupid question. If you've got $12 and that's all you've got per month, that's what you've got per month. But get the coverage so that when you leave out of the house, the air for whatever reason, because we have that unfortunately, doesn't decide that you now need to be in a hospital for 6 weeks. We're in an unprecedented time where, we always know nothing's promised, but it seems like that gap has gotten smaller and smaller over the years. We've just suffered some crazy losses, big name losses, if you will, over the last couple days of celebrities between Malcolm Jamal Warner and Hulk Hogan passing, Ozzy Osbourne passing, right? We're all human, and every one of those was a shock to society, right? So if it was shocking to us, imagine the shock to their families. And many times people kind of miss, I think, the importance of that notoriety of being publicized, in the sense of that they're still human, they still have families that and they think because they're celebrities or wealth, it's probably an easier transition. You'd be surprised at even how many celebrities are not properly protected because of amounts that are earned that they think will take care of them a certain way. So ask those questions, people. Ask those that you're close to, ask those that you're not close to, and get the answers so you can feel best protected. So,
Thank you. And
absolutely.
your calendar link where people can book, that will be in the show notes too.
Okay, fantastic. Thank
Um,
you.
yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah. So now I have a personal question for you.
Yes.
What gives you the most happiness and fulfillment in your life at this point?
Being a father. Every day it is a new development. I still think I'm a new dad. Having a 14-year-old beautiful daughter is a interesting day to day for me. Let me tell you, she's a fantastic young lady, very bright. But that switch that switches on somewhere that goes, boys, the movie Up where it was a squirrel. It's like, when did that switch happen?
Uh-huh.
But just seeing them grow and develop, there is no gift greater that God gives you than being a parent. There really truly isn't. And while, I know that's a very, opinionated statement, some may think otherwise. I stand very firm on that. The gift of being able to help cultivate and be in someone's life and get them going in the right way, because there's parents that aren't biological parents that serve a very huge purpose in people's lives. I'm not adopted by any means, but I have an adoptive family outside of my mother and father because there wasn't a lot of support from the generation before that way. So I grew up with a grandmother, a grandfather, cousins that are not blood related to me by any means, but we never know the difference. My nana was my everything, and she was not my real nana, but served such a space. So my biggest smiles come in reminiscing about things they did when they were young. I'm a dork. I literally can sit and look at videos from 12 years ago that I've saved, and I watch them like a TV show because I'm in love with my children. So I'm in love with my children, and then I look at where they're at now, and I think about where they're going to be, and that brings me the most joy, and this the unknown of how amazing and what they're going to contribute. Like 10 years from now, my daughter's going to be 24, my son will be 23, and what Nikko and Laylahni are going to bring to this world, not knowing that is so exciting, but knowing that how positive it's going to be. Like I can't wait to see that. That is huge for me. That is so so huge. So some would call it legacy. I don't like to title it legacy because if all they decided to do was sell seashells by the road, I love you for it. It's great. That's typically not the legacy you think of, right? But for me, they're the best seashell salesmen ever. They give you the best seashells. They smile. You love them. You guys still have a lemonade stand. It's the best lemonade in Georgia. Like that, they're my joy. They're everything for me. In fact, I call them my pride and joy. They are my pride and joy. And so that gives me the most. And then second, not a very, very, very far, far second, it's just helping people. I love to know that I've helped someone. I do, and I'm thankful that I've come up in an environment in faith that my mom, my dad have always been the type of people to help you. Even when they maybe couldn't help themselves, it seems like that they'd help you. I grew up in a household where my mom and dad were willing to let you stay if you needed to stay, feed you if you needed to eat. Seeing that I think has made a major impact on my desire to be able to say, how can I help you? And really genuinely mean it. And you don't have to say thank you. The thank you is that I know that the help was there.
Mhm.
Right? So those are the things that fill me the most, that fill me the absolute most, and knowing that all of that is just structured for me by God, just saying that I know there's a calling on me, and I'm just constantly trying to answer the call. Sometimes I miss it. Sometimes I answer the wrong way. I have a very, very, very unique understanding and dynamic of my relationship with God. I believe we are very, very good buddies, and I'm like his favorite sitcom. And when he wants to laugh, he definitely turns me on and says, "Let's see what's going on with Leonard today." Okay, that's enough. We're not gonna make it too bad. This is the romantic comedy. It is the tragic comedy. We're not gonna let it be a dark, dark movie. But the fact that he keeps calling and he keeps asking me to answer, that's what I'm thankful for. That's what I'm thankful for, and it just fills me with joy. Being here, talking with you, having the opportunity to meet you, and us just have a fantastic conversation, and you being gracious enough and open enough to say, "Hey, can we continue this conversation on my platform?" Thank you so very much for that. That's huge. So thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you so much for being here and for agreeing to share with us and for being so vulnerable and transparent.
You're very welcome. Very, very welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. So I have one last question.
Mhm.
What is your best advice on living an incredible, amazing life?
Um, my best advice would be is to take ownership of your life. When you take ownership of your life, everything else will start to give more clear in how to create your best and amazing life. Give up blaming, give up complaining, take 100% ownership and accountability, and you'll start to implement and put in place the things to create the life you want, and you'll be able to remove the things that are keeping you from getting to the life that you want. So that's the biggest takeaway is take ownership of it. When Monday's not great, it's not Monday's fault. Evaluate your Monday and what you did in your Monday and go, that's why Monday wasn't great. I'll do this differently Tuesday.
Mhm.
And when you do that differently Tuesday, from your actions to your body language to your language, you'll immediately see results if you're looking for them. And you'll always be looking for the results if you're taking constant ownership of it, not looking for what others are saying, what others are doing, what others are projecting to you for what is, but taking that ownership and saying, I'm 100% responsible for all my successes and all my failures. Life lives completely differently in that way, in my personal opinion.
It does. Thank you so much, Leonard.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
We'll talk to you again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kim. You have a great one. You be blessed.